Welcome back to another video. My name's Chase. This is my garage. Behind me, my 1979 Oldsmobile Custom Cruiser that we're putting this Duramax drivetrain in. Also got some also delicious Sweet Tarts mini chews. Today we are probably going to do some stuff with the front accessories here. And if you haven't watched the other video, go check that out. So we have already obviously stripped a lot of stuff off the front of this engine. Throughout the garage I have parts and pieces and things to work on putting this back together. Now, we had mentioned some important things while everything's off and accessible are going to include what I believe is the cam and crank sensors. Even though they're not that old with the rest of the drivetrain, they've been sitting. I'm not gonna take any risk. I'm gonna go ahead and change things while they're out and easy to get to. Those are on order. Those should be here in a couple days. I have thermostats with me today. I have alternators, or alternators as I like to call them. I have pulleys. I have a tensioner that's on order because the parts store did not have the same one. Hopefully I'll show you that when I get it unboxed. I got idler pulleys. I got a new belt. It's hanging from up here. I'm trying to let the heat just kind of naturally let it settle before I go to put it on. Because, you know, it's folded up in one of them cardboard sleeves. What else do I got? I think that's it for right now. But we're going to do something different to start this video. I kind of cleaned off the board the other day of some stuff that's not needed anymore, and I adjusted our list just a little bit, but we'll go over that later. So to start this video, we're going to do kind of like a product review test. This is Purple Power's aluminum brightener. I figured, well, I have these big aluminum brackets off the front of the engine. Well, bracket. And while some of this other aluminum's exposed, maybe I can clean it up a little bit. So I've never used this product. I just kind of looked up cast aluminum cleaner, and this is the first thing that popped up. So on the side here, I'll kind of zoom in. If you want to pause the video and read it, you can. But essentially it does say in this first, open pore. This product is for use on machine finish open pore cast aluminum only. Well, I believe that's what that is. Here's some of this. Here's the directions. Essentially it wants you to clean it off first with water and then sit for 20 or 30 seconds when you put the chemical on, and you can scrub it if needed, and then you need to rinse it almost immediately after. So, if anyone wants to read that, here's that. So I'm not really sure the best way to apply this. So I got this spray bottle. We just filled it up about halfway. And I guess we'll try spraying it on first. See how that goes. I got the water hose over here ready to rinse it off when needed. And we're probably going to try this kind of rusty corner first and see how that goes. And I just sprayed that off with the hose and blew it off with the air gun. Let's see what happens. Here we go. I don't really know how much to apply, but that's wet. Now we'll let it sit for 30 seconds. Does it look any different? Absolutely not. I'm not sure what I expected. Maybe I'm gonna have to scrub this some, because there's a fine layer of something coming off. Alright, I'm gonna have to play with this. Let me get out the brushes, and I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but when I rub this, it is kind of moving that layer back. The bottle says scrub for a tougher stain, so maybe all this is a tougher stain. Well, give me a minute, we'll see what happens. So that's what that looks like after scrubbing it. Now that does look much better than kind of like, I guess you could call this corrosion or like an oxidization. I don't know what the technical term would be on the rest of this, but scrubbing it with the chemical definitely seems to help. But I don't know, the way the bottle says it kind of makes it seem like you just kind of spray it and then wash it off, which we can't get that hopeful. But I don't know if just scrubbing alone is gonna take all this off. Let's try this. It might. So if I was really just ambitious and wanted to just sit here and scrub all day, it'd probably all come off like that, but it's probably not safe to fill a container and just dunk this in and just let it sit for a while, because it probably will eventually start eating away things it shouldn't be eaten. And I don't want to like warp anything of any of the holes or threaded areas or that kind of thing. So off camera, I'm going to finish kind of just wiping this up a little bit, spraying it, scrubbing it, spraying it, scrubbing it kind of thing. Maybe not the back side because we're not going to really see the back side, but maybe on the front. Now the next after this, I don't even know if it's going to matter because all this might end up getting painted anyways, but it'll at least have a clean surface for paint to go on. So it's been a couple minutes and I don't really know if the product did too much. I thought it was because I didn't see any of this like white stuff anywhere. Like I said, I don't know if that's like a corrosion or oxidization, whatever, but I kind of came to the realization once this dries, well, you'll see it again. So when it's wet, the water kind of sits in the pores and kind of makes all that disappear. So it makes it look like it was cleaning it up, but it didn't. So it's probably user error. I'm probably not doing something exactly how they intended it to be, but I mean, you read it maybe, but it's very simple. Spray it on, let it sit, wipe it off, scrub a little if you needed. Well, I scrubbed a lot if needed, and it didn't really do too much. Because like if I go over here to this bracket and you know you see the same kind of white everywhere, I can kind of smear that white around with my finger. So that kind of just cleaned off with just water really, but maybe the chemical had help in getting at least that surface layer off. Whatever, that just means I'm probably just gonna end up painting everything anyways. If you're wondering, Chase, what color are you gonna paint it? Well, I have this VHT engine paint and it is titanium silver blue. Now this is about the closest color that I can find without ordering the Oldsmobile blue, but this is about the color the original Oldsmobile diesel was painted, and I'm gonna try to replicate that, and I think this is pretty daggone close. Got my little paint booth set up here because of course every time I want to paint something it is sprinkling outside. So got a piece of welding wire just kind of holding it up right now. I don't have a great place to hang it from in the garage, so we're gonna use this little box. So we'll let that dry a little bit, and I'll turn it around and hit the other side. And yes, you are correct, I did not put any type of primer on it. I did not scuff it. I did not prep it in any sort of way other than kind of wash it. I think the cast is porous enough where this paint should stick, but yes, primer probably would have helped keep it on there longer. I'm not going to clear coat over this in any way, I don't think, but it should hold for a while. If I need to touch it up later, I'll just do the old rattle can touch up. Alright, while we wait for paint to dry, let's take a look over here. In this bag, I got a low pressure fuel line kit from eBay. And these are supposed to be pre-bent hoses. And new spring clamps. So let's see if we can take these out with one hand. Six pre-bent hoses. This is labeled as a low pressure fuel line. That appears to be a 1/4 inch inner diameter, 3/16 maybe, 3/16. That almost looks like a 1/2 inch. These also appear to be a 1/2 inch. So now it's going to be a matter of where do these go, because I still haven't really looked up where everything goes. 1/2 inch line. Is it this little guy back here that I've been looking at? No, that's smaller. Is it that? It's got to be that guy. Yeah, it's got to be that one. So this goes to the fuel control module that's sitting over on the shelf. But that's fuel control module, so that means all these are probably up top too. I guess that means that might not be a fuel line. Oh, maybe it is a fuel line, because that kinda, it doesn't have the same exact bend, but it's very close, and it looks like it would line right up. So there's that. Let's see, what else is up here? Hoses that I've cut. Is that fuel something? This big guy? I don't know. That looks like it goes back there to replace this guy right here, which I also think went to the fuel control module. I don't know. I have to find me a diagram. We'll get back when I do that. Alright, after a couple hours browsing the internet, I finally didn't figure it out. But I resorted back to plan A, which was struggle until I figured it out. I think I figured it out finally. So 6 hoses total. These are low pressure fuel hoses. I just kind of started following all the fuel rails and everything, and kind of slowly figured it out. So to start, we got this 90 hose coming right off of the CP3, C3P, whatever injection pump. That goes there. There's another one down here. We're going to come back to that at the end. This little guy goes off this banjo fitting for the fuel control module. Underneath that, this Z shape kind of thing goes wherever that goes. That goes to this purge valve thing. I'm assuming that's what that is. Purge valve. This guy with the foam insulation cover goes off, and I think also goes to the fuel control module. The banjo fitting's somewhere else right now. I don't know where that went, but it has this like almost a 45 bend here, and this one has an even wider angle. I'm not sure 100% on this one just yet. That one goes over there. Oh, yeah. This hose matches more like this hose, which goes on the fuel control module. So maybe that other hose went to the fuel filter setup that's not right there right now. And then, let's see, so I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that last hose down in here. So that's kind of like a U shape, and I didn't see anything in any kit that's a U shape, but that's hooked to the rest of where these newer hoses are going. And this has a little bit of a bend, but it's not quite a U. But I suppose if I bend it to make a U that looks about the right length, looks about the right size hose, that looks like a 3/8 inner diameter hose, or 1/4 inch hose, sorry, and that appears to be like a 1/4 inch line. Yes, this new hose is thicker, so it kind of maybe threw me off a little bit, but I think if I bend that, that's where that needs to go, down in there. So I am going to start working on changing out the ones I know for sure one by one. Let's hop back in here real quick. Let me show you where I'm at so far. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 hoses on so far. That U-shape hose, it's probably going to be easier if I take this thermostat housing coolant pipe off to change that, and that's what I just loosened up. While that's loosened up, I figure we'd take it off and look at it at the same time. So I have not seen underneath here yet. Ooh. So there's some gummy stuff in there. Oh yeah, look at that. That's nasty. Get that out of there before it drops down any farther. There's some more of it down in here. This is I guess it's like solidified gummed up coolant. I don't know, because I had already lost pretty much most of the coolant when I removed this engine from the truck. So I know there's going to be residual, but at the very top here, I don't know. This is, take it out here so I don't make a mess. It almost feels like a soap. It's not like waxy kind of almost. Gross. So I guess I'll probably be doing some type of flush when I get everything together. I'll probably put distilled water or some type of flush. Well, I guess whatever chemical you use to flush radiators and heater cores and stuff. Probably run something through it before I put coolant all the way back in, but yeah, look at that. That's kind of gross. That goes here. I'll clean out the inside of that too. Probably get the shop vac and try to suck some of that out. Again, it's soft enough where it kind of starts crumbling. if I go to try to pick it up. But if you kind of like rub it between your fingers, it kind of feels like a wax. So this is the hose that was hiding behind the thermostat outlet, inlet area, whatever. That's a U shape with a little bend. And this is what I can only assume to be the replacement hose, because that's the only other thing in the kit that's close. Let's see if I can hold this. Just give it a little bend. I might have to trim that just a hair. I actually did have to trim this hose down here about a 1/2 inch that goes into the injection pump, and it's still kind of long, but there's no kinks, so it's staying. But I'll try to get this on. If it seems like it's too long, I'll trim it a little bit. 6 hoses off, 6 hoses on. I kind of finally remembered what was going on here and why I couldn't remember or figure out where this last hose went. So the hoses with the banjo bolts on them here and here went to the fuel control module that mounts right here. Well, the other end of the one goes to the fuel filter, which is no longer right here. There used to be a fuel filter housing kind of bolted right in this general area, and that also explains why this hose is kind of just open-ended, hanging out on the end right here, because that also would have gone to the fuel filter. There's a good chance, and I'm not sure yet, because if I'm not using this fuel filter housing and I have a lift pump with fuel filters on it, that these two hoses get looped together? Possibly. I have to look into that. But if that's the case, I might, because that banjo is there, this is going to screw here, I might be able to just kind of flip this hose somehow and run it back to here, or maybe take this banjo out and put it in here, and this plugs back into the module. That's later down the road. But low pressure fuel hoses are done. The next thing I need to try to find or do, or this or that, this little guy down here, I believe this is a coolant return hose off of the turbo. This is a coolant feed line, I believe, going to the turbo. There's another rubber hose back here that also appears to be going to the turbo, which I think is just an extension of going all the way to here, because if you follow that metal line, I think they're connected. So 2 short 3/8 coolant lines I need to find, a little bit longer, maybe 3/8 or 1/2 inch line, inner 3/8 inner diameter line for there. That might be quarter then, I don't know. 5/16. That coolant line, this coolant line, that coolant line. There. I need those 3 lines. Then these vacuum, I think these are just going to be vacuum hoses. That should be easy enough to find. That's manifold to manifold, or sorry, valve cover to valve cover. And then it tees off into this funky shape, which I shouldn't need this funky shape because the factory air cleaner went this way, but I don't know what I'm doing yet with that. So, or the air filter, sorry, factory air filter housing went somewhere this way into a box over here. So I might keep that pre-bent shape. We'll see. But the other two sides of that T, I should just be able to use straight hose. There's a vacuum hose on the turbo. I'll have to find one of those. And I think that's all the hoses. I lied, one more. When you go down to the bottom, we got this little guy again. Whatever. It still might be a fuel line. I'm not 100% because I'm not sure where everything goes. Or maybe that's a vacuum line as well. But I got to figure out that one too. So 1, 2, 3-ish. That can be cut to a T. 4, 5, 6, 7 hoses. We're getting there, guys. I forgot to mention, but you can see thermostat housing's back on. I'm not 100% sure yet. I know if I have to do it later on, I know where to do it and how to do it now. But down here, where that pump is, the injection pump, is a sensor. And that sensor, from what I'm reading, right there, goes right into that CP3 pump, or C3P, or whatever. I'll get it right one of these days. I believe it's a fuel pressure regulator of some sorts. Now, I don't know how that works because of how it is and where it's placed, but that's what the Google says, so we're gonna roll with it. When the sensor's out, just looking at a picture online, it doesn't look like it really regulates the fuel in any way, but whatever. But that's it goes right into the pump. I really don't want to replace it if I don't have to right now, but it from what I've seen, it's almost like a $200 sensor or more, but we'll see. Coolant sensor I'll probably get. That's easy to get to. I should go ahead and just change that now. Even if I don't, it should be easy to get to replace. Well, I don't know. Alternator be sitting right here. I'll get another coolant temp sensor. I'll get one of them. This is also, I think it's a fuel rail pressure sensor. That's also a very expensive sensor that if I don't have to replace it right now, I'm not going to. So that's probably going to stay until we get startup. Map sensor, or mass airflow map sensor. Map sensor, yeah. Mass airflow plugs into the intake tube, which is somewhere around here. Those are easy to get to. All the stuff that's somewhat easy to get to, I'm not necessarily changing just yet, but as soon as the crank and cam sensors show up, I'll change those, and then we'll work on putting the rest of the accessory drive back on. Alright, quick update. I did some more Googling, and I either have to spend more money or find a cheaper alternative. I learned a couple things while looking for things. This is a vacuum pump, which now that kind of makes sense because I know these are crankcase hoses because they're going to the valve covers, so they're breathers coming off each side at T's, but it goes down to this thing, sorry, on the side here, and it goes into the side. And when I saw this, I was like, originally thought it was some type of fuel line. Well, no, that's a crankcase hose also, or a breather hose, PCV, positive crankcase ventilation hose also. So that's a vacuum pump. Now we know I got to keep that on there. I need that. In order to replace all the PCV hoses on a non-California emission engine, it's probably gonna, like, I'm sure there might be better options, but from the cheaper options I've seen, it's still going to be probably like $200 just to replace the 1, 2, 3, 4 hoses. That ain't happening. We ain't going to do that. That one down there definitely needs replaced because it's starting to dry rot. This one up here, it kind of looks okay. I might be able to save it or just replace it with a straight hose. This one definitely needs replaced because I cut it. So this is definitely a coolant hose, and I found one on Rock Auto for like $11 before shipping. Everywhere else it's like $30 or $40. Same exact hose with a Delco part number, I believe. So that's getting added to the list. I found a pre-cut one of these hoses made out of silicone for $4, but the catcher on that, the shipping's like $17. So I don't know if I'm going to go for that or not. I have a factory part number, but I can't seem to find that hose. I believe most of these hoses also are metric, so that's like a 10mm hose, which is silly, but whatever. I'm sure I could use standard hose. There's a bug. Get out of here, bug. Metric hoses, that's a metric hose also, so rather be safe than sorry, not have a coolant line blow on me, especially for something important like having the turbo cooled. So $11 plus shipping. I'll probably go ahead and try to find a couple other things to make it worth the shipping, like maybe coolant temp sensor, or some little other things like that. But this hose is probably going to come from Rock Auto. I might just bite the bullet and pay the like $25, $27 for that one 3-inch piece of hose. We'll see. I haven't found, where'd it go, this guy yet that goes to the turbo. Oh, you'll also notice I took the turbo cover off just now. There it is. Just to look and make sure nothing else is in here that I'm missing, but that seems to be the last couple things. This vacuum hose I'm not concerned about because I know it is just a vacuum hose, and I probably have some in my rubber hose box somewhere, or I have a fuel line or something. I have a hose this size somewhere in this garage that'll fit that. So money, money, money. We'll see. So that's the update on that. Probably going to be a couple days before that stuff shows up. So this video is going to pick up a couple days from now. In the meantime, this is kind of what it's going to look like. The camera probably don't do it justice, but it's like a lightish, kind of shiny blue. It's a lot better than just the bare aluminum corrosion that it was showing. I'm not going to make it pretty because once it starts seeing heat, it's probably going to start peeling up anyways again. Whatever we're going to do. We'll paint probably some more stuff while we're waiting on sensors and parts, but it's coming along. But I'll see you in a couple days. Here we are 2 days later. Stuff still hasn't showed up, but I was messing with some stuff. I took that little hose out, that coolant hose back here. Yeah, everybody on the internet wants, like, the cheapest I found this specific hose aftermarket with shipping was close to 30 bucks. And I'm like, yeah, no, that ain't happening. And then if you found like an actual GM replacement, whatever, I mean, you were going to pay like 50, 60 bucks for this. So, you know, I still did some Googling and this and that and this and whatever. So these hoses are metric. They're 10mm inner diameter, which is roughly the 3/8 inner diameter like normal. But whatever, you're not going to just find metric labeled hose. But I don't know what I was worried about. O'Reilly Auto Parts does carry a 3/8 heater hose, and it says heater hose somewhere. Heater hose 3/8, but 9.5 millimeter, whatever. It'll fit. It'll squeeze on there. Now the whole outer diameter is a little bit thicker than this. I don't know if you can ever. Shouldn't be a problem. I think there's enough space around here. The only issue I might have are these hose clamps, spring clamps fitting. So I might take one of those off and just make sure it fits first. If not, I do actually have some more on the way. They should be here tomorrow because I figured in cases like this, I might need some more. So I was prepared. Anyways, I got 2 feet of this hose for like right under $3 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. So I'll cut off a piece of this to match that, and then I'll cut off a piece of this to do the backside by the turbo. That piece right there with the clamp. And that covers those two. I found this hose. This hose is on Rock Auto. This is a coolant hose. So the pre-bent version of that is on the way. Again, this one I probably also could have got away with just using a straight hose like this, but whatever. That's on the way. I got another temperature sensor on the way. Cam and crankshaft sensors on the way. Should be here. All that should be here tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this, well, try to figure out how to get this on because I had to cut it to get it out. But see you tomorrow. Changed my mind, I'm not done. 5/8 heater hose is being used for the vacuum hose, if you want to call it, the emission evap PCV hose, valve cover to valve cover. I gotta, when I get my spring clamps in, I gotta put one back on there. I wrote me a note. So on there, all the spring clamps are on the T. I'm just gonna reuse this hose. It seems okay. I don't see any signs of dry rotting, cracking, even around the ends. So this pre-bent hose is gonna stay the same for now. If I find it to be a problem, I'll change it later. I went ahead and got an extra couple feet of that 5/8 hose just in case. I also, I guess I should say, I pulled out my box of hose. There it is. And I didn't even need to buy the 5/8 heater hose because it looks like I already had some. Should have brought that down first. Oh well. Anyways, in that box, I also found some vacuum hose to replace that little elbow shaped thing that was down here. That should hold up, I hope. If I see it collapsing, I guess I'll put something in a little heavier wall. But I think that is an actual vacuum hose on this one here. But it seems sturdy. So if something gives me problems, I know what to look at. Now, see you tomorrow. Next day, as promised, stuff showed up. Got AC Delco belt tensioner. This one does match the original one. The one at the parts store did not. The one at the parts store, even though it only gave you like the 2 options in stock to order, the pulley was smaller than what this is. The overall construction was smaller. I already compared it, but like this piece on the side here was like much thinner. This overall, just the spring part was like shorter, but the pulley was like bigger. But I don't know, it didn't look like it was gonna be the same. So this matches what I already had. That's good. This is that pre-bent coolant hose that I probably could have just used the regular stuff, but whatever. It's got a little cover on it. So Delphi coolant temperature sensor, and sensor, this is either the crank or the cam sensor. Now after unboxing this, I'm sitting here looking like something's missing, and sure enough, either I forgot to add to the cart. I know I looked at it because the part numbers are one number apart. The crank sensor and cam sensor, one's a PC399 and one's a PC398. And I guess I didn't order one or the other. So now I gotta order that again, or order it because I didn't order it the first time. Whatever. So we're gonna get this stuff on, and I guess order the other one. Probably record a couple more things, and then we're approaching the end of the video. And my pack of assorted spring clamps was supposed to be here today, and I go to check on that, and now that got delayed till Saturday. So instead of showing up in 2 days or 3 days, now it's showing up in a week. Whatever. So I know this video has been a little redundant. Sorry, whatever. We talked about rubber hose today, but that's fine. Well, this week. I don't know if I said it already, because now we're the next day. My last sensor is now ordered because I forgot to do it the first time, even though it was on my top of my list to order. Whatever. That's on the way. My spring clamp assortment was supposed to be here yesterday, but now it says it's supposed to arrive Saturday, and I'm not gonna wait till like Saturday, and I think the sensor's supposed to be here till Monday to finish recording out this video, so you get the point. I'm gonna change 2 sensors. I got like 3 more hoses to change, and then hoses are done. Sensors are done. And that'll check off another thing from the list. But here we are. There's something behind me that just showed up today. We're gonna take a sneak peek before we end this video off. There it is. Now, I do have one more box that has to be on the way because I don't have the center section yet. So I'm gonna cut the tape, pop the staples, and let's open this real quick. Ta-da! There's a quick preview. Next video we'll do more on that, but I guess we'll go ahead and end off this video. By next video I'll have all that hose done. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.